What do we have here? 701.
Sure.
I could have everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, if I could have you all review the minutes from our last meeting for any questions, comments, corrections, misspellings, most likely on my part. Roll call. I have one of this. Roll call. Mr. Brock, present. Myself, present. Mr. McBride, present. Mr. Rapish, Mr. Neal,
Present.
Mr. Rossetti.
Present.
You should do that more often, give people time to review the minutes. There are no corrections, questions, or comments. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as they stand.
I don't see any corrections. I'll make a motion to approve.
A second. Roll call, Mr. Roman. Myself, aye. Mr. McBride.
Aye.
Mr. Neal.
Aye.
Mr. Rossetti.
Aye.
Record, all vote ayes. Okay. We do have a small modification to our first agenda item. Mr. Ray, if you could
Yes.
enlighten the rest of the committee.
So after preparing this agenda, kind of came to light that there was a misunderstanding between the applicant and staff. They are going to be seeking annexation of zoning of the properties that are depicted on the concept plan and included in the application. They do not intend at this time to re-subdivide anything. They intend to leave the properties in the parcel formation as they are now, since they don't have any particular users in mind or at the moment that are they're doing this for. They're keeping their options open. So in the future, it might come back for a subdivision, but right now they just want to annex and rezone. That means that the concept plan of subdivision is not a necessary step, but they are still present with us tonight to make the presentation, discuss the concepts, and get the commission's feedback on annexation and zoning. So tonight with us are John Stewart and I don't know your last name, Ernie.
Perone.
Ernie Perone, representing the Light Properties and the application. So that said, there's no need for a vote on this tonight. You can simply provide your feedback and we'll go from there. Want to go ahead, gentlemen?
Sure.
Share my screen with your presentation.
Okay. Well, good evening. I'm John Seward. I'm with CBRE. I'm an industrial real estate broker. I've been doing this for about 32 years now. Ernie Perone's with me. He's a representative of the Light Real Estate Group. They are the owners of the property. I think we talked earlier about some of the property, the old Shireland amusement park, the site to the north, 168 acres, which we refer to as the Ludwig property, and then obviously the 38 acres on the south side of I-90. We've had the property on the market now for about a year and a half. We've received fairly good interest level. Obviously, as you know, the industrial real estate market now is still very active. It's probably the hottest segment in the real estate market right now. Our biggest challenge, though, when we're talking to developers or even users, is the fact that we aren't annexed and we aren't zoned, which obviously creates an issue if they've got timeframes that they have to meet. So in looking at similar uses in the area, obviously, and it's our opinion, and I'm hoping it's yours, that this is industrial is the highest and best use for both of these sites. The sites on the north, we're actually seeking, if you could flip one more page. The sites on the north, we're actually requesting M3 zoning. We've had multiple inquiries and we have a couple of concept plans that we've prepared. We've had inquiries from large single users all the way to a lot of users in that what I call the sweet spot, like the 20 to 30 acre range, where they would look at a variety of uses. So again, back to not seeking to change or get a plan approved per se, we want to leave our options open for that. But we have found that we have lost deals to other sites because they are annexed and zoned. That's one less step a developer or user would have to take. Okay, so again, on the two larger sites, we are requesting the M3 zoning to keep as much flexibility with the properties as we can. If I can get you to push one more. Again, we've done a couple of conceptual plans. This plan here shows fundamentally 3 buildings on each site. The one challenge we do have, especially with the Shireland site, is the elevation. It's about a 70-foot change in elevation from this point here to this point here. We did have a single user looking at the site to put up a 1 million square foot building because of the highway exposure. But, you know, when they looked into the due diligence and the cost of kind of tabling or leveling that site, it became somewhat cost prohibitive. Now, it's not to say someone won't do it, but in our thought, it's more likely that we get someone to come in and divide it up into, you know, 2 or 3 individual lots. And same on the north side, the elevation there is a lot better. I think there's maybe a 25-foot grade difference from the east side to the west side. You do have a drop down. This connector here is really not wide enough for anything other than a road at this point. We're hoping at some point to maybe get some of the other landowners on board for similar uses where that could be squared off and potentially something more efficient made there. Get you to flip one more. This is the plan. So there was, and Jay Hedges is very familiar with it, there was a large user out in the market, was called Project Yukon. I can't disclose who the ultimate end user was. We didn't get the deal, but they originally were looking for a 1 million square foot building with a lot of parking and expansion. We had laid it out here. We had laid it out there. They then came back to us and said they needed closer to 200 acres. Originally, it was 100 acres. They came back for 200. This site here is about 168 acres, but that includes the connector. So we just physically could not fit that on, but we did go through the exercise of getting these drawn out. And again, that's very possible. I sent Jay an email last week that I got from a consulting firm looking for large sites for a 1 million square foot fabrication facility. So again, it's possible, but our thought is we're probably going to end up, or somebody's going to end up dividing these sites up. Okay. We foresee very similar uses here as what you have over in through here. Obviously, you've got industrial users, you've got a couple trucking company and transportation users. Even further south here, they're developing that site, and you've got trucking and transportation users. Again, the logistics industry is just incredibly active right now. It's almost proved to be recession proof. So that's a lot of the activity and inquiries we are getting is from trucking and transportation companies. The access on and off the highway is phenomenal. You've got all the infrastructure in place here with all the fueling and truck stops and everything like that. So it's received a lot of attention. And again, what we're trying to do is help expedite the process by getting it annexed and zoned ahead of time.
They don't want to do what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
They want, if they purchase, they want to be in the ground in 6 to 8 months. So we're trying to be proactive with that process with you.
The other site, which is south of 90. Oh, I'm sorry. These are just some sample pictures of buildings and uses we anticipate. This is actually the Dayton facility right there. So similar type uses, a larger building. Again, warehousing, logistics, that's really what we see the uses are for those two larger sites. The 38-acre site, this site as well has some challenges to it with the elevation. Obviously, we're cognizant of the fact that there is some residential to the west of it. This site, if I get you one more, this site we're requesting just an M2 zoning there. We see either lighter industrial there or almost like a sales service type users. If I get you to flip one more. We've done a couple conceptual plans on this as well, where we've actually had inquiries and interest from companies that are in the sales and leasing of trucks, other equipment. Everybody wants that highway visibility. So we've kind of laid out, and I've got another concept plan that kind of shows this as well. We lay out a large site up there for again, a sales service type operation. These are what I call small tenant incubator buildings. So these are probably 38, 40,000 feet. They're laid out where you'll have a small office component in the front and probably a large overhead door in the back. Very similar to some of the buildings up on Arrowhead Drive, where again, you'll get smaller, could be manufacturer, assembly, or even service type companies there, okay? So we again envision a much lighter use here. Between the turn here and just getting in and out of the property, we don't see a logistics company or a trucking company. You know, again, it's just really not set up for what we call high volume traffic. Okay, I get you to flip one more. So this again is a similar layout. The only thing we've done here is we've kind of flipped these two buildings. Again, we've identified that as facing right out onto the highway for the maximum amount of exposure. And again, a smaller type sales service operation here as well. And again, our multi-tenanted incubator units. The way the topography is on this site, again, it's high here, everything kind of flows that way. So again, you've got a dense area up there. This here we foresee as a logical spot for a large stormwater management area and also acting as more of a buffer. And then some sample pictures again of these are actually a couple of the multi-tenanted buildings that are on Arrowhead right now. So again, we foresee very similar type uses. And then we have a couple of dealers, you know, more service sales type buildings here. Obviously, this is your current zoning map. The sites are highlighted. Obviously, we're at the far north end of the village. And what, again, the attractiveness here is obviously the on-off with I-90.
Josh, can you go back a couple slides?
Yeah.
To the layout. The other thing, we know that this property here, how it comes across, we also have this built in that if we have to create more of a buffer on that portion, because this lot, whoever owns this lot, it kind of follows that triangular, you know, shape. So if we have to create more of a buffer in this area, it just allows us to do that if it becomes a point of concern. And also, I mean, we're not 100% sure, but a truck sales may take up even more of this.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
these two buildings may not even be in play.
Yeah. 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 Again, the vast majority of inquiries we get are users in that, I would say on the small side, maybe 10 acres up to, you know, 25, 30 acres. That's the vast majority of inquiries I get. And obviously, this site is 38 acres. There's probably close to 32 usable.
Right, and then you're
Yeah.
eating up a little bit with the detention area.
Yeah,
So then that kind of gets it into that 10 to 30 ballpark that they're all looking for. So there might be just a single sales user that would occupy the whole thing. Then that would give us a lot greater flexibility, what I was pointing to with if we have to create any buffer to the north and west up in that corner, if necessary. You know, like I said, it's kind of an oddball lot that's owned there on the north.
Out of curiosity, for the proposal south of Dietrich and between 90 and Dietrich, you said that, there was, I know it is quite hilly back there. You said there was approximately a 70-foot downgrade.
yeah,
End to end.
yeah. If you look kind of up here, and I've.
Go back one more, Josh, if you could.
Yeah, it,
To the three, yeah.
yeah. Your elevation here versus your elevation here, it's about 70 feet. So again, if you were to do a single building there, you'd have to find a happy medium and table it. Yeah,
And even with the multiple buildings.
Yeah.
How would you go about doing that? Like retaining wall, terrace property?
yeah,
kind of?
you terrace it. You see that done a lot. That's a lot more cost effective than trying to level the whole. And again, obviously you've got Dietrich Road here, which, follows the elevation, or we've also looked at potentially, an internal road here that could, obviously go up and down as need be. But again, again, we have had single users look at it, but
It also depends on the user. I mean, the example I like to use on that is if you've ever been to Northbrook Court or, somewhere they have like a two-tiered building, lower Burns kind of built into the hill. Then you could kind of tabletop this building and just isolate it, which would therefore take care of the elevation problem. Since this is the location, this is our highest point here.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So if we could tabletop the problem and isolate it with an elevation, that it would depend on the user if they could use like a multi-level area. And or we would just have to isolate it and build a retaining wall of some sort.
Any additional questions, Mr. Rossetti, Mr. Neal?
No, I'm good, Brian. Thank you.
No, sir.
Everything seems pretty straightforward. I do appreciate your time this evening, gentlemen. I know Josh basically shared with us that you're actually not looking to subdivide this evening, so.
Yeah.
Technically, no reason for you to be here, but I just.
Oh, we want to
appreciate it,
get our face because we want to get through the,
Everybody likes pictures.
well, yeah, but we want to get through the process. I mean, we see what's going on and what John comes to us with. I mean, people are now starting to know about it. So the time and talking to the guys that come in and build the buildings like this, they don't have a high patience level. They walk into my office and they're already tapping on the counter. When can we get in the ground? And actually, I won't share who it is, but someone came in. I just had a meeting on Friday and he's like, well, where are you at? And I go, well, we have our first meeting Monday night. He goes, well, good. Certain process that I don't want to do. That's we are. So, because as soon as they put their money down, they just want,
Mhm.
they don't want to wait a year once they put their money down. So we decided to put more money into it and take care of the process more. So,
Yeah, I'll just throw out there the next steps for zoning and annexation. They will have to come back for a public hearing. Obviously, they've made their presentation, so if there's no changes, all that'll be necessary is to make public notice of the hearing and allow anybody to come and voice their opinions about the project. And then after that, it goes to the village board to consider the annexation. They'll have another public hearing for that at the village board level. In the meantime, we'll be drafting some sort of annexation agreement between the attorneys to go over any specific issues or concerns, such as the buffer zone or certain types of uses that may or may not be allowed. I just want to say that this team has been really good about communicating with staff and understanding there's certain types of things that we also think will not work on that site. For example, like they said, logistics is not going to be good for that 38-acre site with a really bad turn onto Havens Road. So they've been very receptive and willing to work with us on that. Other than that, there's no need for a vote, so if you don't have any more questions or concerns. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate your time this evening.
No, thank you.
It's okay. No follow-up.
Okay.
All right.
Nice evening. What is the official Robert terminology for nullifying an agenda?
I was actually thinking about that. I think maybe unnecessarily proper way would be for you to call for a motion and then nobody make it. And if after a reasonable amount of time, nobody makes your motion, then it's defeated, de facto defeated. I don't know if that's very necessary, but
Otherwise, the other way that you could do it is have it tabled until a further.
that's how the village board usually does it. They just table it and then forget about it. That's up to you.
I'd rather the Jeopardy theme song with no response. Because at least that way it's done. I'd rather not table something, because for me, that's a loose end.
Yeah, technically,
However long
it should come on the table, but.
From a legal perspective, leaving a loose end just feels dirty.
Sure.
All right, gentlemen, I think officially I'm going to entertain a motion to approve a concept plan of subdivision, which technically doesn't exist. And as long as nobody makes that motion, we can have it clean and just done.
I haven't heard anybody make the motion, so I think you can move on.
Okay. Do we do seven seconds of official cricket? 10?
Would you want to do an official motion?
Sure. I will entertain a motion not seeking for response to approve a concept plan of subdivision for the SMRT and Ludwig properties generally near the I-90 interchange as submitted by Dan Light. Motion failed. Moving on.
So we're with that all under what motion? No motion made, so it'd be what, terminate agenda?
I think you say failed, motion failed.
I think we can clean up, we can do a little bit of research and figure out what the term should be, but yeah, the motion officially failed. Nobody made the motion. I will now entertain a motion to approve the 2023 calendar year regular meeting schedule of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Can I make that motion?
I'll second.
Myself, aye. Mr. McBride,
Aye.
Mr. Neal,
Aye.
Mr. Rosetti.
Aye.
We need one, anyone?
Aye.
Took the liberty of leaving Christmas off of that, if you're all okay with it.
Absolutely. I don't think you'd get a quorum anyway.
Yeah.
Second and fourth Mondays should just go without saying for the most part. Appreciate that, by the way. I will now entertain a motion to authorize myself to report the actions of the commission's business this evening to the village board of trustees.
I'll make the motion. Second. Myself, aye. Mr. McBride,
Aye.
Mr. Neal,
Aye.
Mr. Rosetti.
Aye.
No public comments this evening.
I'm sorry.
I don't think that's pertinent to official meeting business to announce publicly during the meeting, but I think we can discuss it after we adjourn, so. I will entertain a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting
I'll make the motion.
at 7:26.
I'll second. Self, aye. Mr. McBride,
Aye.
Mr. Neal,
Aye.
Mr. Rosetti.
Aye.
Aye. I did receive